Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have a coastal fall crafting marathon for you where I put together 20 of my best fall Dollar Tree DIYs. I hope you enjoy today's video. I'm going to DIY a pumpkin. So I picked up this pumpkin from the Dollar Tree. I think it's kind of ugly, so we're going to remake it. It has this bump out, which I thought was cool at first, but then I discovered that it was made out of cardboard and that's not that cute. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that just by using heat and like a little Dollar Tree putty knife to scrape that all off and just give me a big block pumpkin. You wouldn't have to use specifically this pumpkin, but I really did like the size of it and that it's nice and heavy. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a mosaic pumpkin for fall using the little glass mosaic pieces from Dollar Tree. Now, I picked up several different ones. I picked up these. These are like blues. I end up using one package of those. These are like pastels. I end up using one package of those. And these are like black and white, and I end up using one package of those. The reason why is because I kind of wanted to do a coastal beachy color combination, and I just needed some of the colors from all of them. But it's the first time I've crafted with these from the Dollar Tree. Have you guys seen these at the Dollar Tree? I picked up some more recently, but I've had some of these for a while and I've never crafted with them. But I'm going to pick out from the pastel package. I want to save all of the light blue and the light, almost like a lavender blue. I think that'll go with my Beachy blue decor. And then from the blue package, I'm going to go ahead and dump that out. And I'm just doing this on the pumpkin itself so I can kind of guess, how many I'm going to need to cover it in a mosaic pattern. Now, these are all blue and white and really nice, but I was thinking I didn't really like the really royal blue. I didn't think that really went with the Beachy decor. So I'm going to go ahead and pick out all of the bright royal blue ones and save those for later. Because again, we're going for like beachy, blue, and coastal. But I did want some white in it too. So that is what we're going to use the black and white package for. Now, I thought I would need way more than these because this is a pretty big pumpkin, but they go further than there's more in there than you think, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm just going to go ahead and only use the white ones out of this and kind of scatter those around the pumpkin until I think I have enough to fill everything up. Now, to fill in the different areas around the mosaic, I'm going to use some grout that I picked up at the hardware store. I've had it for a couple of years. I used it to fix my shower, but I've also crafted with it before. It's great because it's pre-mixed and ready to go in a jar. But I first have to figure out how to glue all these on. Now, I did not want to hot glue them all on. I figured I'd probably burn myself. It might not be the sturdiest adhesive for the glass tiles. So I decided to use the multi-purpose cement from Dollar Tree. I was just trying to figure out how I was going to pull this off. I don't really have to paint it or anything because you're not going to be able to see any of this image through. So I decided to do 1/3 of the pumpkin at a time. So I just spread out the multi-purpose cement, which is pretty strong adhesive, on with a foam paintbrush. And while it's wet, I can just start scattering these all around. I want to do like random blues. I'm like turning them every which way. I don't want like too many of the same colors in the same place. I want it to look very random. It's going to be a mosaic. It's not going to be a really tight mosaic. Another option for this is you could work some little tiny seashells into if you wanted, but I kind of really just wanted to go with the glass mosaics and see how this turns out. So the middle section, the same way. I'm just doing them section by section because I don't want that multi-purpose cement to start to harden up before I get all the tiles on there. So again, just filling that all up with a random pattern. And I'm so glad I decided to do this. It really turned out to be a work of art. I was really impressed with how this turned out. And I'm wonder if you could kind of DIY your own grout. It wasn't too expensive. The grout I got is way more than you need for crafting, but I think I picked that up for like $10 at the hardware store, something like that. And I've had it forever. It goes pretty far. So I did the same thing on the left side, got everything glued down. I think it's looking really cute. A few more pieces that I want to attach to make sure there's no areas with like not any tiles. So I kind of check it here and there and try to fill in any gaps. Now the glue is still wet on there, so I'm going to go in with my heat gun and dry that until it is, dry, and now we can attach the grout. This is the grout that we're going to use. The color is linen, and it really kind of looks like sand, so I really like this. And again, I've had this forever, and it's still like, perfect to use. And I'm just going to go ahead and mix that up with a putty knife, and then we're going to attach that right on top of the glass mosaic. It's going to fill in any of the other areas. I guess maybe you could use plaster of Paris or something like that for this too. And I want to make sure that I don't get too much on there. I just need enough to cover the glass. So I found it a little bit easier to use this larger putty knife. And so I'm just going to scoop that on, pushing it down in between the tiles. Luckily, that adhesive was super strong, so everything stayed in place right where it needs to be. And then just spread it out, kind of scraping the top of the tiles with my putty knife to kind of make it thin enough just to cover the back of the pumpkin and the sides of the tiles, but not to cover the tiles themselves. Now, the sides were a little tricky because there is no wall, so I just kind of put it on there and kind of scrape it out as flat as I can up against the sides, kind of keeping that shape and working my way around all the edges until all of it is filled in with grout. Now, I've worked with this before. I've made a sea glass pumpkin, if you've seen one of my previous Coastal Fall videos. And I let that set on there too long. This time I was quick. I was quick with the wet sponge, wiping off the grout on the top of the glass stones to make sure I get them all good and cleaned up before the grout even has a chance to set up at all. So I just lightly went over the top of it with a wet sponge to try to at least get the tiles wet, right? And then I can kind of go in and start cleaning those up. Before I thought maybe it needed to set up a little bit first, but no, it really needs to be removed from the tile quickly. So then I went over with a paper towel. I noticed with the paper towel, it was kind of wiping the grout back on the tiles a little bit. So I'll show you how I end up cleaning that up. I just go over it again with my sponge, clean off all those beautiful tiles. Isn't this pretty? I absolutely love how this turned out. Definitely doesn't look like something that you made with the Dollar Tree. And to fix it, I did a paper towel and I just laid it on there and I blotted the tiles just from the top instead of going side to side so I don't get any more grout on the tiles themselves. And once I get all of my tiles cleaned up, then I can let this dry and harden. It really didn't take very long to set up. I did give it a head start with my heat gun, but then I just kind of set it aside flat on its back like that. And look how beautiful this pumpkin turned out. Aren't those little mosaic tiles gorgeous? And I love the colors that I chose. I think they go really nicely together. And so here it is, our little glass mosaic coastal fall pumpkin. I think it's coastal because I think it looks like the sand and of course all of the blue that we used. But I didn't really want to add any more decorations to it. I really want just the art of the mosaic to be the star of the show. And I just love it. I think it's so pretty. I love making pieces like this. Now for the next DIY, I thought let's try a coastal fall terrarium. So I'm going to use a Dollar Tree candlestick. This one is like light blue on top and white on the bottom. So I thought that would go beautiful with my coastal theme. And then one of these jars from the Dollar Tree. I love these. They're nice and big. I'm going to flip mine upside down and make a terrarium. And so this is going to be the top. So I'm going to have to get rid of this super sticky sticker on top and clean it up a little bit. But basically, we're going to turn the jar upside down. We're going to display it on the candlestick, and we're going to fill it in with like a blue succulent and some pumpkins. So once I got that all cleaned up, I wasn't too impressed that the circle wasn't centered there on the top, but that's fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and start decorating the base. Now it's already stainless steel, but I wanted to add a little bit of texture to mine. So I'm going to use some burlap ribbon. And I got this great burlap ribbon at Pop Shelf the other day. I haven't seen this size at Dollar Tree, but it works great for something like this. It was $2. And so I just glue that around the rim of my lid. And that gives a nice beachy burlap feel to that. That's going to be the base of our terrarium that's going to attach to the candlestick. Now, it was a little bit of an experiment putting this together. I knew I was going to need some foam and I wanted to do blue. So I'm going to use one of the little blue succulents from the Dollar Tree. It is on this really large stem, which I don't really need. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove the tag and kind of take this apart. And then I can kind of attach everything to the base. Now I'm going to use pumpkins. I use one of the little ivory ones from the Dollar Tree. And then I had a little tiny orange one from the Target dollar spot that I thought would be great too, to add a little bit of orange to it. I take some floral foam from the Dollar Tree and I just cut down a square that will fit inside the lid. It's not going to quite fit inside the jar though, so I am going to have to trim it down. And my goal here is to kind of carve it to kind of make it look like a rock. That way I can boost up the succulent and the pumpkins. And then we're going to fill in the rest of the terrarium with sand. Now I went ahead and hot glued mine to the base, but you might be better off without doing that. I'm not sure. I did have a little bit issues from that here in a little bit. But I am going to carve it down a little bit more where it's a little skinnier at the top, kind of like a stone. Sticking out of the ocean like that. That way I can cover that all up with sand. I won't have any sharp corners or anything sticking out. Now for the succulent itself, I'm just going to do a little hot glue on the stem and push that down into the foam, kind of towards the back of the terrarium. And I've done beach terrariums on my channel before, but I've never done one for fall, so I thought this was fun. Now for the pumpkins, I just use toothpicks, and since they're made out of foam, I can just put the toothpicks right through the bottom. And we're just going to stick those one on each side of the little succulent. And then we're going to fill the rest of the terrarium up with sand. I kind of wanted to do shells in there, but I knew I was going to have to do a lot of shaking and stuff like that. And I thought I would probably bury any of the shells that I put in there anyway. So I think that the sand and, the succulent is going to give me that beachy vibe I'm looking for. Now, I didn't hot glue the pumpkins, and I kind of felt like I probably needed to because to get it to all stay in place. So I just hot glued the little toothpicks in there, and that is what we have so far for the terrarium. Now, if you had a larger jar of some kind, you could even add more, but I think that's all that's going to fit. Now, to fill the jar, I'm going to use Dollar Tree sand. I had a bunch of it. This is the tan sand, and this is kind of the tricky part. You have to try to figure out how much, the stuff is going to displace the sand. So I put an amount in there and I'm going to try it. And spoiler, I did put a little bit too much in there. So be careful with how much sand that you use, because I did have to take it back apart. But I went ahead and set it on there. Now gluing it to the base is kind of tricky at this part, like screwing it on, getting everything to move while it's buried in sand. So I don't know if you need to glue it to the base or not. Now to attach the candlestick to it, I'm going to use some of this cement adhesive from the Dollar Tree and just do it around the rim of the candlestick holder. And I am going to do hot glue in the middle to try to give me some fast hold, but otherwise we're going to rely on that cement to glue the ceramic to the metal. Just sit that on there. I did have a little bit excess adhesive gluing coming out the sides. Now, I probably should have checked to see if my sand was right before I did this step, because it probably would have made it easier, but I didn't. So you might want to, flip yours over and check yours first. So I flipped mine over And I'm like, yeah, there's too much sand. See how my pumpkins are buried? Like my succulents, okay, but my pumpkins are definitely buried. So I just unscrewed the lid and we're going to try to adjust it. And as you can see, the hot glue doesn't really hold when you do the spinning. So that's kind of to be expected. So I dumped out a little bit of sand and then I'm just going to go ahead and reattach. I did hot glue again, even though it's probably not necessary. And then just screw my lid back on and hopefully that is the right amount of sand now. So I flip it over. You want to shake all of it down. It's kind of like a snow globe, right? Kind of have to shake it until you get your little beach terrarium that you want in there. I want my sand higher in the back by where my succulent is, and kind of lower in the front so you can see my cute little mini pumpkins. So just kind of shake it and get the sand to fall exactly where you need it to be. It's kind of fun. And I messed with it a little bit and I am happy with it. I think it turned out really cute. So a little fall version of the beach terrarium with some cute little pumpkins on the beach. And this is how it turned out. I love making terrarium. They're so much fun. I mean, you don't have to have real plants or anything like that. You can just use like the faux succulents from the Dollar Tree and the Dollar Tree sand. And everything was from the Dollar Tree here except for that ribbon and that little tiny orange pumpkin. But I like it. I think it's a fun touch for fall, something a little bit whimsical and unexpected. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, don't forget to hit that like button. It always helps my videos do a little bit better here on YouTube. I found this sign at the fall section at Dollar Tree. It has blue, white, and orange pumpkins in the back. So it's got the blue that I was looking for, but I thought we could take it up a notch and try to make it look a little bit more coastal. So we're going to do that with Dollar Tree rope. So we're using the same rope that we used on the leaf wreath. It is the 9.5 foot, the kind of the skinnier one. Thought that would be easier to do the letters. And I just loop around the cursive H. I decide to cut mine so that I don't have to overlap it and make like a big bump with the rope on top of the rope. And I'm kind of glad that I did that for this because I think it did make it look more high end in the end. I have done cursive writing with rope before and left it all one piece, but since I was trying to kind of keep to the shape of the home that's already on the sign, I'm just going to kind of cut it. So I'm going to have to cut it here again to prevent an overlap here on the little loop on the O. So I just cut that down and glue it on. And I just want to cover all of the frame because I don't really like it. It's like a brown, boring, like wood look. But the back of the sign is really cute with like the little pumpkin print. It's totally my color and style for fall decorating. So I thought just adding some rope, and we're also going to add some burlap to this. We can take this Dollar Tree sign and just make it extra special. So I got to this point and there's another place I need to cut the loop of the E. Gonna cut that down and then I just have a little tail piece. And now I think that looks pretty good. I'm just gonna make sure everything is glued down, burning off any fuzzies from the home out of rope. It's just a fun idea of something that you can do with these Dollar Tree signs. Now for the burlap, I'm going to use the burlap trim. This is the one that comes in the middle of the package. And there's plenty in one package to go around the entire frame. So I'm just going to hot glue that burlap trim to it and see how like great texture that adds to it. Just makes it look so much more high end. We're going to do the same thing here on the top. And of course, you know, it's made out of like this burlap jute material. It's going to go great with the rope. And it just added lots of texture and beauty to this little fall sign. And that's basically all there is to it. Our little rope home sign with the little blue pumpkins. I was going to add some seashells to it, but I didn't think it really needed any. I think the rope is enough of a coastal touch with the blue pumpkins, of course. But this is how it turned out. Our little home pumpkin sign. I think that's the first time I've covered the word with rope, but I really like how it turned out because I really like rope like in a cursive design like that. I think it looks really pretty. What do you guys think about this DIY? I hope you're getting some great crafting inspiration today.
Up next,
I wanted to do like a coastal beach version of this leaf wreath form from the Dollar Tree. Now for the back, I want to cover the back of the leaf with fabric. And so I wanted something beachy and blue. So I'm going to use one of these little fleece baby blankets from the Dollar Tree. These are great to craft with because they're nice and large. You get lots of fleece fabric, very cozy. So I'm just going to cut down a rectangle a little bit bigger than what I need, and we're going to attach that to the back. But first I want to start working like kind of on the structure of the leaf itself. I want to line it with rope. So I'm using the brown rope from the Dollar Tree. I'm using the skinnier one. It's like the 9.5 foot. And I think I only ended up needing 2 packages to cover everything. Now, I want to do the outline and glue the fabric on at the same time, but I don't necessarily need to do that for these middle pieces, the little veins of the leaf. I'm going to do those first. That way I won't have to worry about like too much hot glue or anything like that showing up on the fabric behind. So I just cut a piece down. I'm making sure to cut the pieces short enough that there's going to be room to do like a rope down the middle of the leaf and rope around the edges of the leaf later on. So I'm just going to cut these pieces out. So a total of 8 pieces, and then just hot gluing those in place. I do craft on a silicone mat, so it makes it pretty easy to do this because the hot glue won't stick to that. Otherwise, you're probably going to need to lift it up a little bit if you don't have something like that underneath of it. And they get a little bit bigger up here, but basically the same thing. I just cut and glue them down. Now I want to do like that baby blue fleece background with like the rope outline of the entire leaf. The color of the leaf reform is really nice. You could do it without the rope, but I think that the rope definitely gives it a fun touch, and actually it helps to attach the back of it too. So I think that's going to work. So last piece, just going to cut that and glue that on. And we have the middle sections all ready. Now for the back of it, it gets a little bit messy. I like to kind of clean mine up a little bit just to make sure that you can't see any of that hot glue from the front. But otherwise, it looks pretty good. I also like to burn the fuzzies off just using a lighter. It just cleans up your rope. So any kind of rope you use, even from Dollar Tree, Walmart, wherever, sometimes they can get a little fuzzy, and this just helps clean them up and make them look a little bit better. Now, since I have that part done, I'm going to go ahead and attach the back, but I thought I probably needed to make a hanger first while I can still get to this area of the leaf. So I'm going to hang it like upside down like this. So I just take twine and tie a knot there to make a simple hanger. And now we can attach the back and add the rest of the rope to this little leaf wreath. That's hard to say. So I lay the fabric underneath, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece down for the middle part of the wreath. And I'm just going to hot glue that, pushing that in between the other 2 pieces of rope that I had cut down. And I'm making sure to use plenty of hot glue so that the extra hot glue kind of seeps around the wire and actually picks up the fabric from behind. So I'm only doing one section at a time because I want to make sure that my hot glue, stays wet and it's easy to work with. So I broke it down into like 3 sections. Just testing to make sure that that is gluing the fabric to the back, and it totally is. So we're going to do the same exact thing on the outer part of the leaf, just starting at the top. I thought that'd be a good place for the rope to kind of come to an end, and then just gluing it around. I found that I could only do like one little section here at a time without like my hot glue setting up, because you kind of have to hold it into these like curved shapes to make sure that you cover all of the wire. I was trying to be really careful to make sure that you don't see any of the wire in the final product. But basically just outlining it with rope. And then once I get this all glued on, then I can go around and trim off the excess fabric. I do it this way just to make sure that I have the perfect amount of fabric instead of trying to cut it and line it all up first. And I've done this with other types of materials. I've never covered, I don't think I've covered one of the backs of these kind of things with the baby blanket before, but I have crafted with it before and I really love it. Just if you need like light blue or light pink felt or anything like that, the fleece is going to work great for that too. And I think I've used the pink maybe for Valentine's Day, but I have used this beachy blue one a lot. So we almost have it all framed out here, just one little piece. I'm going to cut it, have the little rope end here at the top. And there is our little beachy leaf so far. It's looking very beachy with the blue and the rope. And all the DIYs today are going to have like a beach or a coastal influence. I know fall has already started, but I did want some more fall decor for my home to display after I take down my Halloween decorations. Because right now I have all my fall stuff up, but I also have Halloween. I definitely have more fall decor, but I am going to have some bare places and I am not ready to decorate for Christmas yet. But Christmas DIY videos are probably going to be coming pretty soon. I just did 4 Thanksgiving DIY videos because I don't like to skip Thanksgiving. I know that some people do, and that's totally fine, but I like Thanksgiving as its own separate holiday too, so I like to decorate for that too, because you know me, I'm going to decorate for everything. Now, this step was a little tricky, cutting off the fabric, because I was trying to cut it off without, so you don't see any of the blue felt from the front, but also I don't want to cut it too short or there might be a hole or a gap. And I did a pretty good job of gluing that on. I didn't really have any areas to fix. Now to decorate the front, we're going to use some of the little burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree, kind of the same shape, right? And one of the little metal words, this one says harvest. A lot of times I paint these, and if you wanted more contrast, you totally could. Like ivory would look really nice. But I kind of liked the metal on this. So I'm just going to go ahead and find a few areas where the metal will intersect with the rope and just glue that in place. And I think that the galvanized metal definitely has like a coastal feel with these colors and textures. Now for the leaf, I'm going to go ahead and just peel the wire off. I kind of like them better without the wire. And I'm only going to do one. I kind of want it to be a little bit over towards the side, not perfectly straight down. And then we can decorate this with a few more coastal items as well. I'm going to use some Dollar Tree seashells and see what I got in this package. Ooh, this shell looks really cool. So I think that's going to look really nice. And we're just going to decorate the top of the leaf with the shells. Now, if you wanted to do this with not a coastal theme, just skip the seashells. You could add pumpkins or whatever to the top. And, you know, you can always change the colors, but today we're going to be doing a lot of blue. I love using blue for every holiday, and so fall is no exception. I found 3 great shells that I think would look great, and I just hot glued those to the top of the wreath form. And here it is, our little harvest coastal blue leaf. I think it turned out really fun, and it's really unique. It's a lot different than I decorated this before. I've done one of these, I think last year, but I love how it turned out. And here it is. It kind of looks like the harvest is 2 different colors there. I don't know, that must just be my flash or something like that, because it really is like all like galvanized metal. But I love how it turned out. I think this will look great in my entryway for fall. This next DIY was really fun to put together. I picked up 2 of the little wood trucks from Dollar Tree and a Dollar Tree wood crate, and I thought we could make this into an actual little blue truck that we could fill the back with pumpkins. Now, as you can see, the one that I got is the fall sign that has like pumpkins on it, but you know, totally don't need that because I'm going to be cutting that off anyway. They do sell a plain one. They kind of have them for every season, so if you have another one, you might be able to get those off as well. I do have to get the little, what are they called? I think they're called fenders, off of one side. And I do that with a little putty knife from Dollar Tree. I also need to get the little hubcaps off. Might be easier to do that if you used a little heat. I just scraped mine off. Also, the railing for the back, because one side is going to be one side of the truck and going to need those, and the other side is going to be the other side. So I need them on opposite sides. If that makes sense. So I'm just going to use an X-Acto knife and cut off the pumpkins. I just need a flat bed for the back of my truck. And this wood is pretty thin, as you can see. A pair of heavy-duty scissors and an X-Acto blade or a razor blade. You can go through it if you kind of cut going both ways. This one, I didn't do quite a good a job, but I was trying to avoid the railing on there because that side, it's still attached. But I just kind of trim it up until it looks better. Now, what I mean is, like, I'm going to have, like, the little crate be the bed of the truck so we can put stuff in it. This is a great DIY because it's not just for fall. You can use this for any season. Put whatever you want in the back. You can also make your little truck whatever color you want. Of course, I'm going to do a beachy blue for mine. So here are the little fenders. Mine were a little rough for wear, maybe because I didn't use any heat when I was removing them, but trying to make them look a little better with a little sanding. And I want it again to be on the back of the sign because this is going to be the other side of our truck. So I got those ready to go. I did find that I kind of cut up the fenders a little bit. So I'm just going to patch mine in with a little bit of spackle just to smooth it out and make it look a little bit better. And you can totally paint over that, so I think that it's going to help mask it a little bit. But if you're more careful than me, you might be able to get yours off more cleanly. I'm also going to fill in the hanging hole on the top of the truck with some spackle while I have that out and about. So, time to add the fenders back to the little truck. I'm going to hot glue these on. And as you can see, I had to flip them over upside down to make them go the right way. And then I'm also going to glue on the little hubcaps. I mean, you could paint these before you attach them, but I'm not going to remove them from the other side. So I might as well just leave them on over there. And we'll be starting with the same sign on both, but just a mirror image. I glue the little rack onto the back of the little pickup truck as well. And trimming this one up a little bit to make it look a little bit better. Now it's time to start painting this little truck. You could wait till the end to paint it, but I kind of painted mine in stages. I'm using that same blue agave color. This is chalk paint by Waverly that I get at Walmart, but you can use whatever beachy blue that you have. And I'm just going over everything to start with. Fenders, hubcaps, everything. I'm going to do the same thing here with my second one. Just painting all over. And that little wood crate that I got is the perfect size for the bed of the truck. And it did a great job of helping me turn this into a 3D truck. I do need to paint it as well. So I go over that with the agave chalk paint as well. Kind of painting all over. Inside as well, because of course the inside of your bed of your truck is going to be the same color as your truck. So top, bottom, sides, inside and outside of that little guy. And also like the tops and the sides of my truck too. So I hot glued my little crate to one side of my sign, and then I'm going to go ahead and hot glue it to the other side too. And you can see that that little crate is just the perfect size for the bed of the truck. Now, I know you're thinking, you're like, that doesn't really look like a truck. It looks like two truck signs with a bin in the back. But here's where the magic happens. I'm going to use popsicle sticks. These are like the jumbo popsicle sticks. I picked these up as Walmart, but you could probably do the same exact thing with the thinner, skinnier popsicle sticks from the Dollar Tree. I just cut some down to size and then hot glue that from sign to sign right here on the front of the truck, doing like the hood of the truck with 3 of the popsicle sticks. you kind of have to work around the design of the truck cab and the bumpers and stuff like that. I cut another one down here for the front, kind of going straight across, and glue one side to the other. I just cut one side to make it nice and square, and then cut the other side. But you do have to be careful. Sometimes they do split. Sometimes you can, if you need them to be skinnier, you can cut them down to size as well. I did layer a couple there on the bumper to kind of make that make sense over the little headlight bump outs of the sign. It's going to be like different depths here on the front, which is what it should be with a like a front of a truck and a bumper. So it's just a matter of fitting that together. Gonna do the same thing here on the top of our truck cab, cutting down the pieces, leaving the opening there for the windshield of the truck, which we're just gonna leave that open. And I just glued those 3 down. I did think the windshield needed to be framed slightly though, so I cut a popsicle stick down, cut it in half, cut it down to size, 1 for each side, just to frame that out. And again, I hot glue that on each side. Now, right now it's got all the little creases in between all the different popsicle sticks, but we are going to clean that up a little bit, and I'll show you how to do that before we paint it. Now the bumper is still not complete, so I'm going to need maybe a few more pieces here to finish off the front of the truck. And I actually had to use a brace there from the back to help support that lowest one, as you can see there. And I just used another popsicle stick for that. Now for the bed of the truck, I actually had some of these little bamboo pieces that I got on Amazon that were left over from another DIY, but you could totally do that part with popsicle sticks as well. I just wanted something thinner, and these fit the bill, but you could totally do this with popsicle sticks. Just cut your pieces down small enough. I want to frame out the back window just like we did on the front, so I'm just cutting down a piece from the size, and I continued the wood railing around the bed of the truck. As well, I cut out a longer piece here for the top of the back windshield and another piece for the bottom of the back windshield just to kind of frame that out a little bit. Now, this is the secret to kind of get rid of all the seams between the popsicle sticks. We're just going to use masking tape. So I just kind of start inside the windshield and pull it down, cutting it down, taping the masking tape underneath, and it's going to kind of give us like a kind of a paper mache feel here. And it kind of made it look like way nicer to paint and stuff like that. I also go over the sides of our windshield and the top of our truck as well, all with masking tape, just kind of patching everything together. And that's not really for structure, it's basically to make this paint look better. So I'm going to go in with that same agave blue color and just paint all of our new little additions, the framing of the bed, the back windshield, and we're also going to paint over all of the masking tape that we added so that everything is blue. Now, I did not paint the inside of the truck, and I probably should have. It always looks nicer when all the surfaces are the same color. But I gave that a nice paint, and that's when I realized I probably should have painted the inside. You're going to be able to kind of see through it partially, so I kind of tried to paint it at this step, which is a little harder. Now, to give it that coastal farmhouse vibe, we're going to distress our little blue truck all over with some ivory chalk paint and a baby wipe. And the distressing does kind of help with the texture of the tape as well. And we have a little blue truck just made out of 3 supplies from the Dollar Tree and a little bit of paint. I do want the rails to look wooden, so I distressed all of those with some Antique Wax by Waverly to give them that wood vibe. and kind of wiping off the excess. I also go around the inside as well, just to kind of continue the look. I also use the Antique Wax by Waverly to stain my tires a darker color. I thought that might look a little bit softer than doing like black paint. And it's no big deal if you don't get it on there perfectly, because you can just use the Antique Wax by Waverly to distress the truck a little bit. Now it's time for pumpkins. I'm going to use these little foam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. These are the ones on the little clips, but they were just about the right size that I was looking for. So I just pull the little clips off the back. I don't really like the color on these. They're like that dark orange with the speckles, and I thought they would look a little better if I gave them a little makeover. So that's what I'm going to do. I pulled all the stems off all of them, and I'm using a little skewer from the Dollar Tree, sticking that into the little foam pumpkin and painting all of mine this pumpkin chalk paint color. It's just a little bit softer orange, no speckles, and it's going to go with the orange that I'm using in a lot of my fall decor. So I'm just using some floral foam and skewers. That way I don't have to lay them down and they can kind of dry upright. And touching up any of the areas that you can still see like that dark orange color through. Now, with the stems, I thought I would touch them up a little bit as well. They're dark brown plastic. I just used a gold paint pen on mine to bring in like a little tanner color on those, just to make them look special too, since we hand painted all the little foam pumpkins. This step is totally optional. If you find some pumpkins that look good or the color that you want, you don't have to do that step, but I think they look better. So now it's just a matter of piling the back of our little blue truck with pumpkins. And this would be cute with Christmas trees, hearts. Every season you can use this little blue truck. And I think it turned out really fun. What do you guys think about our little blue truck full of pumpkins for fall? Nice coastal colors, but lots of fall going on too. And again, you could use the little truck for any season.
And I think it would look great in whatever color matches your decor.
Okay, next DIY, I wanted to give a go at a Dollar Tree wood bead pumpkin. So I got some of these wood beads that are like strung together from Dollar Tree. They have several different versions of these. These are the ones on twine, but I find it's more common to find them like loose in the bag and you kind of have to string them yourself, which would totally work. Since mine were already strung, I decided to take advantage of that. And I am just working Dollar Tree like little floral wire down in between each one. So I just feed that all the way through my strand, which is going to give me a wired strand of wood beads. Now, if you're just working with, the wood beads, you don't have to do the twine part at all. You can just do the wire. And this wire is really thin. It's that green wire that you see on the spool there. But I think it has enough strength to support the shape of a pumpkin, but also be thin enough to make it super flexible. So I've almost got it all strung through, and I'm going to go ahead and cut my wire down. Now it's just a matter of trying to figure out how to make this into a pumpkin. I've seen these before, but I had no idea how to make it, so I'm going to give it a go. So I kind of have mine like all strung together, kind of folded in half. That way I know where the center is. And then I'm just going to go up about a third of the way, just crisscrossing the wires there and making a loop. That way it can come back down, meet up here at the bottom, and then go all the way back to the top. And we can have a 6-sided wood bead pumpkin. So I wind that around and through, connecting them together, and then about the same point on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I want them all to kind of crisscross there on the bottom. Now, since these were strung already, they were a little tight, so I was having trouble moving the wood beads to get enough room to be able to do that. So I am going to have to undo my twine to make it a little bit more flexible here. Now, this is what I have so far. So I'm going to pull this down about the same length and then crisscross that at the top. I guess it's going to be the bottom. And I still have 2 tails left, one on each end. And I'm going to pull this around, go underneath and wind that together as well, wiring it to itself. This one's going to be the 6th one. I do remove any extra beads so that all of my sides are about the same length. And then I wind that around the top as well. And I kind of, had too much wire on there on purpose. I thought that would help with the pumpkin stem. I do use some jute twine from the Dollar Tree and tie off the bottom just to help reinforce that there at the bottom and make it maybe a little bit stronger. And you can see the shape of the pumpkin coming together. It's got like the 6 sides. It's super cute. I'm going to do the same thing by tying off the top as well, going around all of them to make that connection in the pumpkin super strong as well. Now it's time to make a pumpkin stem for this little wood bead pumpkin. And I'm just going to use Dollar Tree rope. This is the thinner brown rope. And I'm going to start with a little hot glue here on the top of my wood bead pumpkin and see how we're going to just wrap that around that floral wire from the Dollar Tree and kind of gluing it to itself. And we're going to make a pumpkin stem. I wanted it to kind of come up and kind of go over to the side, making it nice and long. Now, I didn't think that that wire was quite stiff enough to form it, so I switched out to some of this thicker floral wire from the Dollar Tree just to give it a little bit more stability. I love that floral wire, but it is kind of hard to find at my Dollar Trees. And then I just keep gluing that to itself, the rope, winding around and around until I get enough for a pumpkin stem. So I cut off the excess and then cut off the excess wire. That way, it's got that nice wire in there. I can bend it, make it look like a cool little pumpkin stem. And I think it turned out really cute. I thought maybe I should burn off some of the fuzzies there on the rope with a lighter, but it wasn't too bad. And then maybe a little coastal touch by adding a little Dollar Tree seashell. I thought this little bluish green one would look really cute. And we have a little coastal fall wood bead pumpkin. I also wanted it to have like a little tendril, so I'm using that wire jute. I love this for pumpkins for fall. I cut off a piece, I'm wrapping it around, and I'm gonna kind of try to make a couple tendrils on this. So I wrapped it around and then I wound it around a pen. You do have to be careful. You might want to hot glue the ends of it because it does like to fray. I do have trouble with it coming off the wire a little bit. The less you work with it, kind of the better. But I'm just going to have like some tendrils like hanging out over here. And I trimmed mine down a little bit just because they did fray.
And I've actually made 2 of these on my channel. I've also made one into a candle holder with like a little battery operated candle inside. Just a really fun fall project that you can make with some of these wood beads from Dollar Tree and a little bit of wire. Very whimsical and cute. You could make it, I did like 6 sections. You could make yours 8 if you want it to be a little bit more closed in like that. But I think it's a really fun little DIY for you. Hey guys, have you joined my private Facebook group yet? I have it linked in the description of today's video. You can find out when I post new content. You can also see what everyone else has been making. It's really fun over there. I'm also really active on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. My handle on everything is Crafty Beach on YouTube.
Here is another fall sign. This time I'm using an actually Dollar Tree sign, and we're going to try to make this look way more high-end and make a really fun fall leaf sign. With some coastal vibes. Now, this is that whiteboard removable wallpaper from Dollar Tree that I was talking about. That makes a great background for a coastal sign. And so I just drew on it the size of my Dollar Tree sign and just cut that out. A lot easier than probably trying to recreate that on your own. Because you can just peel and stick that to the front of the Dollar Tree sign. Now, these Dollar Tree signs are kind of lightweight. I will show you what I do to reinforce this to make this like a sign that will stand on its own and not be too tippy. If you Don't get it on there just perfect. You can kind of get off the excess just like you can with any of the contact paper around the edges with sandpaper. It kind of already had a matching side, so totally going to go with that. And one last step. Now this is a Dollar Tree wood leaf. It's the layered one that has like the two together. I don't need mine to be hanging because I want to attach this to the front of that sign. So again, I fill up the holes in the top of the sign with some Dollar Tree spackle. Now I kind of wish they would, I love these layered signs like this from the Dollar Tree, but I kind of wish they would like give them to you in separate layers somehow and you could put them together. That would be really great. But I'm using just some chalk paint, agave color, and I just use a tiny brush to kind of get in the little areas there. It's the back side, but it's the cutouts for the front leaf. And then I'm also going to, paint the back leaf too in that agave chalk paint. Now, there is a lot of details. I'm probably using way too big of a brush on that. So I do kind of follow it up with my tiny brush to kind of get in the details. I don't really care if I get any paint on the front sign, but I'm not doing it on purpose. Now, for the front part of the sign, I am using ivory chalk paint and trying to paint that on there. It's okay if you get it on the back side because I'm going to distress it with ivory anyway, so might as well just embrace it. So I kind of go all over. If you want a cleaner paint job, you might want to use the little makeup sponges from Dollar Tree. They work great for these thin layered signs like this, trying to keep it off, but I wanted to distress the back sign. And so I just spread all that distress out with a baby wipe. It makes really look coastal and fun back there on the back leaf. And I thought we could take this cheap Dollar Tree sign and just really make it look special. So once I got that painted, I'm going to go over the leaf part with some Antique Wax by Waverly. And we're doing that same like wood grain effect by dragging the foam brush across it in one direction and giving me that faux grain. So it kind of has like the same kind of paint effects that we used on one of those pumpkins with like the blue and then the wood. And I think that looks really pretty. Once I get it on there, I kind of, distress it with my baby wipe. And, behind it is that ivory, so it kind of makes it look really cool. I kind of want it to look just slightly weathered. Now, once I get it looking exactly how I want it, it is time to put this together. I did think the stem would look really cute on this leaf if we were to wrap it in twine. And so I use a little dot of hot glue to attach that to the back of the leaf and then just wrap that around and around the little stem. It's going to give it another little coastal touch. It's going to bring in a little bit more of the brown too. Once I get that covered, I can just glue that to the back and snip off the excess twine. Now, I kind of want this to look like it is, falling over to the side. I think that looks a little bit more interesting, but I do want it to stand up on the bottom, so I don't want to overlap too much there. And then I thought, we could try to make this look coastal as well. So I was kind of playing with some seashells from my shell collection. I thought about doing the whole stem as a seashell, but I decided I liked the way that we decorated it, but it probably does need a few seashells, to be honest. Just trying my best to figure out which ones I like the best. I kind of ended up going with these, which were all like Dollar Tree seashells. Whenever I glue those down, I just kind of do the lip with a little bit of hot glue. Sometimes you need to do it under the pointy base, but just enough to, attach that to our sign. Kind of fills up some of the open space there. And I did hot glue that leaf to the sign too. I think my camera died there. But I decided I wanted a little bit more distressing on that leaf, so I decided to kind of just distress just the edges of the leaf. Kind of gives it a fun coastal vibe and a little bit all over that back blue leaf. I think that makes it look really beachy and fun. And then I thought I'd finish it off with a little Hello Fall sign. This was from that kit that we used earlier to make the fall sign, so it's a little sticker sign, but you could totally use the same one from the Dollar Tree. That's maybe not quite so cursive a font. It would be just as cute. I just left it raw wood like that. I like all the different colors. They contrast well. And then I'm just going to use a couple of those Jenga blocks from Five Below here to try to make this sign a little bit more heavy duty and make it stand up. Because as you can see, it's a little flimsy as is. I was trying to figure out the best way to put those in there. And that is a nice box sign, so I just used a couple and kind of glued them on top of each other into the back of the sign. And this is going to make a great fall sign for my shelf. It's going to go perfect with my coastal decor. And I think it turned out really pretty. What do you guys think about our little Hello Fall? Here I displayed it with a dollar spot tray that I painted to look like the beach, but I think that looks so pretty.
And don't be afraid to use colors like this for fall. For your crafting DIYs, kind of think outside the box a little bit. You can get some really beautiful results like this one.
Okay, the next DIY, I'm going to kind of trash to treasure. I had an old bed that I took apart, didn't need. It was kind of the bottom of a bunk bed, didn't have the top. So I decided to save the old wood from this old bed and make some cool stuff out of it. So this is a slat board, as you can tell. I picked like the gnarliest one. And I'm going to make a fun little coastal pumpkin out of this. So I had like a skinnier piece from a frame piece of the bed, and I cut that a certain length. I'm also going to cut this bed slat down as well, a little bit shorter for the sides, and it was so easy to make this like driftwood feel pumpkin. Gonna do another piece the same size. This was before I got my saw, so I was having to use my jigsaw there, but it's a little rough. I want it to look rough. That's why I kind of picked that piece, but I did have to do a little bit of sanding on all the pieces so there's like no splinters or anything involved. Now, the longer skinny piece, which is also a little thicker, is going to go in the middle. It's going to be the middle part of the pumpkin and also the pumpkin stem. I just attach the little side to it with some hot glue, and I do the same thing here on the other side. You could totally recreate this with some Dollar Tree craft wood if you didn't have any old wood laying around, but this is a great use to get rid of scrap wood. I do reinforce mine a little bit here on the back with some jumbo popsicle sticks and a little bit more hot glue just to make sure it's super stable because it's nice and thick, nice and heavy. Now, it's a square pumpkin, but we're going to go with it. I think it looks cool. I do like the gnarly wood, but I do want to distress it with some blue. So I'm just using agave chalk paint and a chunky brush from Dollar Tree and just distressing the whole pumpkin like in one direction. I don't want to paint the whole thing. I want that like all those different colors of wood and stuff to show through, all the weathering. I think it looks kind of like driftwood, which is what I was going for. So I just keep kind of distressing that until I'm happy with it. I'm also going to use a little antique wax by Waverly and also distress it with that as well, kind of adding just a little bit darker colors to the wood. And I really go heavy in on the little pumpkin stem with the antique wax by Waverly to kind of make that part look brown. And you can see I have like nail holes and all that kind of stuff in there. It was kind of like the rougher, the better on this one. I take some of that wire jute from Dollar Tree and I just wrapped that around the stem. That way I can kind of cover the stem part, but then use the end pieces for little pumpkin tendrils. So I just kind of tie that off amongst itself, roll the wire jute around a pen to give me some little curly pumpkin tendrils for the top of our little wood pumpkin. And then I decided I wanted a little bit more color, maybe a little bit lighter. So I did use a lighter color of blue too, and just distress that too, kind of working in different areas, the blue that I did before. I just want as many colors in it as possible. Then I'm going to use some of this burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to cut down a little piece of it. I want it to look nice and shaggy. I pull off the strands on the side, and I thought that combined with one of the little Dollar Tree sand dollars would be super cute right down here in the corner. So I just hot glue that down first, the burlap, and then the sand dollar right on top. Now, again, this is a nice, thick, chunky little pumpkin, and I want it to kind of stand up on its own. So I am going to make a little stand for mine to make sure it stands upright, because even though my wood was thick, I don't think it was quite chunky enough to stand up on its own. Now, I wanted to finish off the pumpkin stem with another little touch, like a little seashell. I'm going to use one of these like little blue-green seashells from the Dollar Tree and just glue that to the stem for another beachy touch. And then I'm going to use these little Jenga blocks from Five Below to make a stand. You can use whatever you have, just something. I'm going to make little legs for mine, one on each side, to make it super stable. When you glue that on, make sure you don't go all the way to the bottom. I use a combination of wood glue and hot glue because, again, this sign is fairly large as pumpkin and it's kind of heavy. And I wanted it to hold up really well. So that is my pumpkin that I like literally made out of garbage, scrap wood. Look how cool it is, all the different textures. I love how rough it looks. It definitely looks coastal and beachy to me.
And it's probably one of my favorite pumpkin DIYs I've ever done so far here on my channel. It just turned out great. I display it every year. I absolutely love this one.
You guys see these little stick scarecrows at the Dollar Tree every fall. They're kind of cute. They're kind of a hot mess. And so I thought we could give it a Crafty Beach makeover. So I start by, I want to remove the little bow tie that was on the front. Unfortunately, it was kind of glued to his face. So I was having to be kind of careful because I didn't really want to cut a hole in the fabric. So I decided to use heat. Now, as you can see, that fabric that the overalls is made out of is very susceptible to heat because it melted my suspenders, but that's okay because I didn't really like them anyway. So I'm just going to cut those off, but I'm going to save the pants. And we can kind of start taking him apart. So I just went ahead and took off his little scarecrow little pants. We're going to make those into overalls, his little scarecrow hat. We're just taking this guy all apart. Now, I'm going to kind of leave this part of him intact. They're very flat, and I wanted my little scarecrow to be stuffed. So I'm just using some pillow fluff to fill his shirt. And then I cut down a little dowel to the sides to make his arms stand up straight. That way, it has a lot more structure than it did to begin with. We're going to leave the little plaid shirt on our little scarecrow, but we're going to kind of do a makeover on his pants. I did have to cut out the suspenders, and I want them to look like overalls. I think that would look more farm for fall, and I kind of want to make them look beachy as well. So I'm just painting the pants with agave chalk paint, that light blue color, which is, you know, the color I've used a lot here in my fall decor. It's going to make them look nice and beachy. It kind of dries almost like a denim color. Got those really wet, so I kind of had to sit those aside to dry. And then I am using some rolled burlap. This is from Walmart, but you know, they have this at Dollar Tree now too. You could totally make this from Dollar Tree. Now I'm going to make a little scarecrow hat with the burlap. I thought that'd be nice and beachy and cute. Basically, you just have to make kind of a cone shape. I cut down 2 pieces of these because we're going to make 2 scarecrows. And I know I'm going to need another one for the second scarecrow. So I glued it into a cone shape, and then I can just kind of fold over the end of it to kind of make a little brim for a little pointy scarecrow hat. Now for the face, I thought we could do a little bit better. So I'm just going to paint all over, leaving the fabric on there, just using like an ivory chalk paint color. And just kind of painting that in. It's kind of an ivory tan color. And I just kind of wanted a blank canvas for that. Now, the back of the head is kind of exposed. They only covered fabric part of the way, and so I'm just going to use one of these little burlap bags from the Dollar Tree and cut down some burlap for the back of the head just to make it look more like a finished project. Since I'm doing all this work to the scarecrow, why not? I do go over the face with a second coat of that ivory paint to make sure none of the face shows through. Then we're going to stuff the pants, now that they're dry, with a little bit more of that pillow fluff. It's really going to fill the scarecrow out, make it look a lot more high-end than the flat scarecrow that was all misshapen before. So it's time to reattach the pants over the shirt and glue that back onto the little foam core that was inside of the little scarecrow. So I hot glue that on, but again, that fabric totally melts with any heat, so you gotta be careful. And then I needed the front to my overalls, and I decided to make it with some of these like reusable like paper towels from like the cleaning aisle of the Dollar Tree. It's this great like papery fabric, which is kind of what the little overalls were made out of to begin with. And I just cut down a little like U shape. And I'm going to go ahead and cut down a second piece for our second little scarecrow we're going to DIY as well. Then I'm going to use that same agave color of chalk paint to paint this like paper towel fabric blue to match the pants. It's going to be the top part of the overalls and our little scarecrow makeover. And it actually did a really good job. It was way more susceptible to heat than whatever fabric they used. I just hot glue it over the top of the pants and glue each little strap over the shoulders. Then to kind of, hide that little seam in between, I thought a fun little coastal touch would be some of this Dollar Tree white nautical rope wrapped around his waist. But, that little part is optional. But I thought it looked kind of cute. Now let's make our little scarecrow. So I kind of see how far down the hat will go, and I just do a little orange triangle for his little nose, a little squiggly smile with some stitching for his mouth with just a black paint pen, some stitching on his nose as well with a black Sharpie, and some Dollar Tree like black buttons for his eyes. So cute. I use some of the raffia from the hat that was on there before, and I just kind of make him some hair, and then pull down our new little scarecrow hat made out of burlap, gathering that and shaping it by pulling it tight against the back of the head that we covered with burlap. And there's so many like textures and colors, the hand-painted face, everything is so cute. I wanted a little raffia bow for his neck, so I'm going to do my best to tie one here with some Dollar Tree raffia to kind of cover up the little area where the bow tie was before, and just hot glue that onto the front. He had a little patch on his old hat. I saved it, matches his shirt, and so I'm just going to glue that onto my new little hat, and a little seashell for a little coastal touch up there as well. And I think he looks so much better than he did before. To display him, I'm going to use one of these little hay bales from the Dollar Tree and just put him right down inside. Now, this is the other little scarecrow, his little partner. And, we cut out extra parts for this one as well. We're going to DIY this one just the same. I picked up an orange one to kind of have a contrasting color with the blue one. But, of course, we're taking it all apart and patching the back of it, painting the face, and doing all the same steps. It's going to be super easy because we already have everything we need because we kind of cut down duplicates when we made the first one. So again, I put like a little dowel inside to make the little arms stand out straight. And I cut out the little top of the bib overalls. I'm going to paint them like a pumpkin color of orange, which is going to match the little orange pants that came on the scarecrow. Gonna stuff the pants like we did before to give them lots of shape. And then reattach everything. So I'm gonna attach the front of the overalls with a little bit of hot glue. Gonna put the pants back on, gluing that to the little foam block that's inside. No more flat scarecrow. And again, using some Dollar Tree nautical white rope to go around the waistband, the seam between the two different fabrics. We cut out that extra piece of burlap to make a little hat. So I'm going to glue like a little cone-shaped hat for the scarecrow as well. And then we're just going to go in. The scarecrow face is so easy to paint, as you can see with a paint pen. A squiggly smile is fun. Stitching is fun. And I love like the black buttons for the eyes. And those are just from the little button jars at the Dollar Tree. And a little stitching for the nose would be cute. And I'm going to use that raffia from his hair before, tying it down in the middle, making some crazy hair. I think this is going to be my little girl scarecrow, I guess, to go with the other one. This one's going to be the orange scarecrow, and the other one was the blue one. But I think they look so much better than they did before. What do you guys think? I tie a little raffia bow for the neck on this one, attaching it the same way. And then this one had a little leaf on its hat, so might as well use it. And I decide to glue that to the top, just trying to find a little coastal touch to go up there as well. I glue down the leaf and a little seashell for fun. Again, using a hay bale from the Dollar Tree to display my little girl scarecrow.
And this is how my pair of coastal scarecrows turned out. I love all the fun touches, the burlap hats, the hand-painted faces, and the little overalls as well. You could completely redo their clothes if you wanted to, because you're going to have a lot of the pieces to start with. But I really like the idea of displaying them like this in the little hay bales from the Dollar Tree. But I love them. I think they're super sweet. I hope you like them too.
We're going to move on to a coastal pumpkin. Now, they have these every year at Dollar Tree, too. These are the little stand-up pumpkins. The great thing about these is they already have a base. They are covered with this fabric and glitter. But we're going to kind of do our own thing on this and just kind of use that as a background. I go on first all over the pumpkin with Dollar Tree tacky glue. This is a really thick glue and it works great for attaching pebbles and stuff like that. And that's what we're going to be using for this little coastal fall pumpkin. I want it to look like blue pebbles, so we're using those light blue pebbles from the Dollar Tree. You guys know I love crafting with these. I've made many projects with these. So I kind of just spread those out on the wet tacky glue, and we're going to try to cover up this entire image that was on there, just going straight over it. And I think that if I get enough of the pebbles on there, it's going to kind of block any of the colors or writing that was on there. And so I was a little concerned by the sides not having enough glue. So I did the middle first, and then I'm just adding a thicker layer of the tacky glue to the sides to make sure there's plenty, and then just sprinkling out the blue pebbles on this too. You might want to put something down before you do this project, because as you can see, it can get a little messy there, especially on the sides. Once I got it all on there, I started gluing it or drying it with my heat gun. And then I like to use some of this aerosol spray glue, also from the Dollar Tree, to spray on top to help seal that down. I've been having trouble finding that at Dollar Tree lately. I don't know if they have discontinued it or if I've just been unlucky. But I let it dry. Sometimes you have to let that dry overnight because it is super wet. But then I just use some Dollar Tree white rope. This is the thinner one. And I'm just simply wrapping that around the little stem of the pumpkin all the way up. And I do want to make it a little bit longer than the one that was on there before. So once I kind of run out of room there, I just kind of start gluing it to itself, making it more narrow as I go up and kind of veering it off to the side, kind of like you would see a pumpkin stem. And of course, that Dollar Tree white rope mixed with the blue pebbles looks super coastal. And I like that it already has a base on it, so that is a step that I don't have to do. It makes this DIY a little bit easier. And then I thought it needs a seahorse, right? So this is one of the little shore living seahorse ornaments. Again, it has a hole in it, so I use a little spackle to fill that up. And we're going to paint him with some ivory chalk paint as well. I thought the ivory would be a great contrast against the blue pebbles, and it's going to match the white rope from the Dollar Tree as well. And I also follow that up with a light distress with some Antique Wax by Waverly. And he's got a lot of details around the edges, so kind of some fun places to really kind of distress him a little bit to make him look weathered. And then I actually just hot glue the little seahorse on top of the pebbles for a super coastal little pumpkin. I added a little bit more hot glue in there just to make sure he sticks down to the pebbles. And I think he turned out really cute. Very, the colors are very beachy. So I thought, you know, instead of like a traditional pumpkin leaf, maybe some of this like palm frond from the Dollar Tree. I just cut off the tips of 2 of them to make some smaller like little fern pieces. And I also picked out 2 different shades to make little pumpkin leaves here at the top of our pumpkin. Because it doesn't have to be traditional. You can make it nice and coastal like this. I also take some Dollar Tree wire jute and wrapped it around a pencil to make a little tendril. And I love using those for little pumpkin DIYs. They really remind me of the little tendril that can come out of the top of a pumpkin. So I hot glue one of the little fern pieces down. And you kind of have to be careful. Sometimes it's better to hot glue the ends of those before you start cutting that wire jute because it does like to fray a little bit. I'm just going to secure mine underneath the leaf there with some hot glue, kind of having it stick out the side. And then I decided maybe a seashell here at the top instead of an extra palm frond.
And I think it turned out really beautiful. Here is our little blue pebble coastal pumpkin. I love crafting with those little rocks from the Dollar Tree. They can make some really pretty artwork like this. I think the addition of the little seahorse is really cute too. You can use any of the ocean shapes you have left over from the short living line. But I think it's really fun. What do you guys think about that one?
Let's do another coastal fall pumpkin using one of those foam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. This one we're going to cover with a Dollar Tree scarf. I like the white ones. I always try to pick those up when I can find those at Dollar Tree. They come in like white, orange, and black, I believe, the foam pumpkins, but it can make it easier when you're working with like a thin fabric like this. I just cut out a rectangle of that beautiful blue scarf material from the Dollar Tree, and I wanted to see if I could wrap it. Now, since it is a scarf, it's a little bit skinnier than I need it to be, but I think we can make it work. So I use a little hot glue to get it as close as I can to the top, which again, I just poked a hole in the top like we did before, so I have somewhere to kind of put the fabric in there to cinch this up. And I think there'll be enough overlap to cover that open part there that you see when we wrap the rest of the fabric around. And again, it's a circular surface, so you kind of have to kind of work with that, pull it tight to the circle. And then I gather it together, cutting off the excess fabric so I don't have too much that I poke inside. And then again, just using my scissors to poke that fabric down into the center of that Dollar Tree foam pumpkin. I gather the other side, bring it up, cut off the excess, and it does cover, like, you know, any of the parts that were still exposed from the scarf being a little bit skinny. But I think that this scarf is a nice beachy blue color, and it's definitely a lot easier to cover it with fabric than to try to paint it since it is foam. And I think it makes it look really nice too. Again, I'm going to use a wood stem, just poking that in for the top. You could totally use the wood stems from Dollar Tree as well. Our stores used to never carry those, but I've had a lot of luck finding those lately. And I have quite a stash of them now. I take some of that wired jute from Dollar Tree, wrap it around a pen for a perfect little pumpkin tendril, one of my favorite little pumpkin hacks. And I put that in underneath the stem to help hold that in there. And then I thought it just needed a few more beachy touches to the top. We could use seashells there. and just a different variety, different colors, and hot glue those to the top of our little beach pumpkin. This was so easy to put together, and it turned out so cute. I was thinking a little Spanish moss might help it look, really fun for fall. So I just took a little piece of Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to attach that there on the other side. And it goes great with the shells and stuff too. Kind of looks like seaweed on our beaches here. But I think it also goes with the fall vibe. And that's how it turned out, our little Dollar Tree scarf fall pumpkin.
You never know what you can find as far as fabrics at Dollar Tree. Be sure to go down every aisle because you might find a great fabric like this that would make a perfect pumpkin. It was so easy to put this together. I think it's so beachy and blue, and you can be creative with some seashells right there on top.
Let's bake a coastal fall pumpkin using one of these cheap foam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree and a Dollar Tree bath mat. I thought these tan bath mats from the Dollar Tree kind of look like sand, so I thought maybe we could try to make a sand pumpkin with this, but a lot easier, right? I cut a hole in the top of my foam pumpkin because I'm going to need an area to be able to kind of press the fabric down into. And I just trimmed off a corner because I don't want any excess fabric if I can help it. I want to wrap this pumpkin with this bath mat, but I want to get it as tight as I can. So again, I cut off that corner and I just use my scissors actually to just kind of pry that down inside. Now, I could do the same thing on the other side, but I thought there was still too much fabric kind of in the way. So I'm going to trim that up a little bit to cut off any fabric, that you're not going to be able to see there. And as you can see, I kind of tested it to see what would not be visible, and none of that would be visible once I got it up there. And so to make it tighter and closer to the pumpkin with the bath mat, I just cut that little part out. Every little bit helps. And just push that down into the foam pumpkin. I'm going to do the same exact thing here on my fourth side. Cut out all the inside portion, pull it as tight as I can, and push that down into the center. Now the center part is where we can add a little pumpkin stem. It's going to help cinch all of that together and hold it tight. Now I thought this side was way too loosey-goosey, so as you can see, I trimmed it up way more and was able to get a much better fit. You just have to have enough overlap there between the sides, but it's okay to kind of have that pumpkin shape where you can kind of still see like the little ridges of the pumpkin through the bath mat, which is kind of surprising that you can still see that, but you kind of can. Now, I thought a wood stem would be great. I actually got these on Amazon, but they have these at Dollar Tree as well. But I do have them linked in my Amazon shop if you can't find them there. Now, I wanted a few beachy touches. I thought some of this Dollar Tree onion grass would make a really cute, sand dune grass. So I kind of put that in that same hole in the pumpkin alongside my wood stem. You do kind of have to force it down in there with some scissors or something. But I kind of wanted the, little dune grass to be peeking out on the stem for my greenery. And then finish it off with a few coastal touches, like some seashells. And I'm just going to glue a little seashell here. I think they make great touches to the top of these coastal pumpkins. Few little sea walnuts and stuff I found at the beach. Kind of play with it to see what I like. I think a blue shell would look really cute. Make it a little bit more colorful and glue that on there as well. I don't want to add too many beachy touches, but you could also use that starfish from the Dollar Tree for yours. But there is our little bath mat coastal pumpkin. I do think it looks kind of sandy and fun.
And And it's just another fun material that you can use to craft your pumpkin with. I love crafting pumpkins for fall. I think they're so beautiful to display, and this one I think turned out really beachy and cool.
Okay, let's DIY another coastal pumpkin. This is one of the like flatter, sign pumpkins from the Dollar Tree with the 2 layers because it's got the little bump outs for the little sections of the pumpkin. And we're going to paint the back pumpkin, that agave chalk paint that we've been using a lot today, to give me a nice beachy blue. You can use whichever blue is your favorite. I just went ahead and took the little bow off the top. There was a little raffia bow, which left a little glue there, but that's fine because I have plans for that. And then I'm going to do something really fun on these bump outs, but I wanted to give it a light stain with some Antique Wax by Waverly first to kind of have a background for any areas that well, I'll just go ahead and tell you, we're going to add sand to those parts. Any areas that the sand is not attached to, I did want a stained wood behind it. Only reason I did that. So this is how we're going to attach the sand, which is going to make them look really beachy. I'm just using a coat of school glue all over my inset. And I'm actually using Dollar Tree white sand for this project. And maybe, the staining helps that to look a little bit tanner as well. I do prefer the Dollar Tree tan sand, but sometimes it's whatever you can find, right? And we can pretend this is a white sand beach. So I do the same thing on all 3 bump outs. I do a coat of school glue, which this is a great time to be buying school glue. It's like $1 at Target right now for back to school. And I always like to stock up back to school season. Now this is what it looks like with the white sand over the stained wood. I kind of like the combination. It turned out kind of cool. I am just tying some jute twine to the top of the pumpkin stem and then covering the hanger in it and just wrapping that all around to give us a nice little coastal pumpkin stem. Just going to secure that to the back with a little dot of hot glue. And I did find that maybe a few areas didn't have as much sand as I would like, so I just touch it up with a little bit more school glue, a little bit more sand, and kind of shake that off, and that's going to dry just fine. But I kind of like the staining behind the white sand. It definitely made it look beachy. Now I take some Dollar Tree wire jute there and just wrap it around a pen. And then I just wrap that around my pumpkin stem to give me the little curly tendrils that I like to use on my pumpkin projects. Then I thought it needed something beachy and fun at the top of it. So I was trying to find just the perfect thing for my stash. And I thought seashells would be perfect. So I'm just going to attach those with hot glue. It's going to cover up the glue that was already there from that little raffia bow when we began. And even though this was a hanging sign pumpkin, I'm going to kind of convert this and make it into a standing pumpkin, a little shelf sitter, if you will. And again, I'm just using a wood block. These are from Five Below, but you could totally use whatever you have. Sometimes I like to cut down extra wood that we have left over from projects into little blocks like this, because sometimes you just need a simple stand.
And this is how it turned out, our little sand pumpkin sign. I think it would look really cute hanging up as well. I'm kind of glad that I stained it. I like the look of it where the sand isn't on the little bump out parts, but anytime I can craft with sand, I'm definitely going to do it. It looks so coastal and beachy and fun, and that's what I'm going for fall for sure.
Okay, you guys ready for another coastal fall pumpkin? This time we're going to use some of this really soft light blue chenille yarn from Dollar Tree and another one of those foam pumpkins. And the white one definitely works the best for this one in case you can see in between any of the yarn. And then I kind of just crisscross and just start wrapping the entire pumpkin piece by piece with that soft chenille yarn. This color is so beachy and blue. And then I just kind of start just going around. You have all those little grooves that you can kind of get started with. And then just keep wrapping the foam pumpkin until you can't see any of the white. And you just keep turning your pumpkin, and pretty soon you're going to have really good coverage. It did take quite a bit of that yarn roll there, as you can see, before I was happy with it. But once you get it all done, you can go ahead and cut off your twine. And then I'm going to use another one of those wood stems to attach my yarn by cutting a hole in the top of the pumpkin and pushing that down in there. It's going to secure all of my beautiful yarn together and kind of end it. Just going to make sure you get your hole big enough, but not too big, because you want your little stem to be tight. Now, I think it looks really pretty with that color. I thought like maybe one of these little Dollar Tree white starfish and like a seashell would be really cute on top. And you guys know I love the wire jute cord for the little tendril tail. So I just cut a piece of that down, wrap it around a pin to give me a little tendril. Kind of poke that down next to our stem. Just kind of hold that into place with a little friction there too. And then I can hot glue the little Dollar Tree white starfish. It's going to look great against that blue. Just kind of staggered over that and our little wood stem. And then I was trying to decide if it needed a seashell as well here at the top to kind of balance it out a little bit. And then which one I would like the best. Kind of play around with it. And I end up a smaller like white shell is going to kind of go more with that starfish. So I hot glue that to the top of this little coastal pumpkin as well. And this one might be my favorite one that we made like that today. It's so pretty. I love that yarn. And it was pretty easy to make.
And this is how it turned out. I think it's really gorgeous. You could do this with any color of yarn to match your decor. I'm very partial to that color. It's definitely one of my favorite colors in clothing and in home decor for sure. Really reminds me of the beach, and pretty easy to put together using a Dollar Tree foam pumpkin.
I wanted to make a little coastal faux wreath for my wall using one of these little grapevine wreaths from the Dollar Tree, combined with these gorgeous blue leaves. They have these every year. I love them. I always stock up on them because they go great for coastal. And one of my viewers told me they had purple the other day, so I kind of looked and saw them, and they are gorgeous. So, you know, the grapevine wreath already has like the jute wrapped around it, and you also have the fibers. And so I am just cutting mine into individual leaves and kind of just shoving those down into it. You could do it that way, or you could use zip ties. It's kind of up to you. I started that way, and then I kind of switched to hot glue. And I just kind of going in one direction. So I'm having all the leaves like go upwards, and I want to do like just like a fourth of it like that, and then I will switch directions and go the other way. So right down here on the left side, I'm gonna end that, and then I'm gonna start doing another like quarter of the wreath form. This time all of the leaves are going to the right. And I am switching to, I think I switched to twine at this point. So I tried like 3 or 4 different methods. Any and all of them will work. And I just want those parts, I want like the grapevine wreath to be exposed like on the top and on the right side. And I want these to kind of meet up over here on the left side. Now, these are some like Dollar Tree fall flowers, like the white ones. I wanted this to be coastal though. So I want to use a combination of like the blue leaves, but also like some beachy things. It's so easy to tie the two together, and it looks really cute. So just kind of going through like my fall flowers stash. These are the viburnums, little white flowers, but they kind of have like a tan to them as well. And then like a Dollar Tree starfish from the Shore Living line. I was trying to decide how many flowers I needed. And I'm just going to attach the little flower there with hot glue. Right there kind of where the two leaf sections come together. I'm also going to glue down one of the little white starfish from Dollar Tree. I love those. I try to stockpile them. And then this is what it looks like with a sand dollar as well. So I'm going to switch it up and do a sand dollar down on this side just gluing that right into the leaves, kind of like tucking it in there. I decided I thought it needed a few more of the little small viburnum white flowers. So I'm going to kind of work those in as well into the wreath or under some of the twine. And don't they look really cute together, right? Like the starfish and the sand dollar mixed with the fall leaves. I think it goes great for coastal decor. And I am just making sure I have enough leaves on there. I did think about going back and adding some more flowers, but I decided that it really had everything it needed. And this is how it turned out. My little blue coastal fall wreath. I really love those blue leaves from the Dollar Tree. There's so many different DIYs that you can make for fall that look really coastal with those.
And I think it turned out really classy for a fall wreath. Really beautiful to display indoors or outside as well.
I wanted to take a Dollar Tree pumpkin yardstick and just any old sign from the Dollar Tree. I kind of wanted that rectangular shape. I'm just going to cover the spring sign with some of that contact paper from Dollar Tree. I prefer the wood grain because I think it makes the back look nice, and just cover the back of that piece. What I want to add to the front of this is that little metal yardstick pumpkin from the Dollar Tree. And I picked up a yellow one. Doesn't matter what color you get because we're going to make it our own. I want, of course, to make it look nice and beachy. Now for the background sign, I don't want it to have a lot of color. I just kind of want to give it that ivory coastal farmhouse feel. So I just start painting all over. And as you can see, I'm trying to paint a little sloppy. That way I don't have to distress it as much. And it still kind of has that distressed character, leaving some of the back of the sign exposed. Then to make it look like boards, I'm just using a ruler and an ink pen and just drawing on some boards. Now, you could also get kind of the same vibe with that removable wallpaper from the Dollar Tree that has like the white, wood look. I'm going to go back and distress that ivory with a little Antique Wax by Waverly, just distressing all the boards to make them look nice and weathered. So that is how you can get that look without that removable wallpaper and a little bit of paint. I'm going to use the existing hanger that came with it. Just pop that back on the top, just poking that through the contact paper on the back. Now it's time to decorate the pumpkin. The first step is to try to get it off the metal yardstick. This one broke off nicely, and I want mine to be a beachy blue color. So I am just going to use some of that agave chalk paint by Waverly. You could totally use acrylic for this as well. And we're just going all over the little metal yardstick. And look at that beautiful texture that is on there. And I think it looks a lot better blue than it did yellow. Doesn't really matter what color it was originally because you can totally paint it your own. But I love the metal feel because it's all embossed. Really gives you a nice, really cool decorative pumpkin. Now for the different sections of the pumpkin, I thought it would look really coastal to use some of this Dollar Tree rope to kind of frame them out. There's like little indentations in between, each section of the pumpkin, and I am just going to hot glue rope into each section. You could cut it down before you glue it on, or you can just leave it on there and trim it up later like that. And I just want to do one piece of rope in between each little section like that. It's going to provide another texture, another like little coastal decor to this little wood stake pumpkin in all 4 sections. Now, eventually we will like frame the whole pumpkin out with the rope as well to kind of finish that up. This did come with like a little metal leaf on there. I'm going to leave that attached and then just use some raffia bow that I just had originally that was on it. Reattach, and then I'm just distressing the dark metal leaf and pumpkin stem on there with a little ivory paint to make it look nice and weathered and coastal. Now at this point, we can go ahead and attach that to our little fall sign. There is kind of, an empty space here. I'm going to fill mine in with a little Dollar Tree Jenga block. And then I'm going to use a combination of glues because this is made out of metal to try to attach it to the sign. And it actually did hold up pretty well. But be careful, the metal sign definitely gets hot if you use hot glue on it. Heats up that metal very nicely. And I'm just gluing mine here to the top part of the sign. That'll leave me a little bit of room at the bottom to add like a word for my fall sign, any like little coastal decorating touches I might want to do. But I told you I was going to frame it out. I thought it would be better to wait to frame out the pumpkin until after I attached it to the sign. That way it's going to help secure the pumpkin to the sign. You're gluing to the metal pumpkin and also to the sign. And I'm just going to take that rope and go all the way around the pumpkin. It's going to finish off that look. And I love the different combinations like the metal, the hand-painted sign. We have the rope. There's the embossing. We have the little raffia bow. So cute. And I gave us another slight distress to my leaves up top, burning off some fuzzies there on my rope. I think it looks so coastal. Now, I'm just going to use paint pens for this one and just do a cursive fall, making the ends of the cursive letters go completely off the sign. And that was just like a gold to give me like a tan finish. And then I thought maybe like some Dollar Tree seashells would be really cute on there as well. And I'm just going to kind of glue those to the little open area there of the sign.
And this is how it turned out. My little metal pumpkin sign. So this is just a really fun idea of what you can do with those beautiful metal pumpkin yard stakes that you see at the Dollar Tree. If you don't want to use them for their original purpose, this is a great Dollar Tree hack, and I think it turned out really pretty. It was actually really easy to put together, and the colors are beautiful. Hey guys, have you checked out my new website yet? It's craftybeach.net. It's a blog that I'm doing on the internet to record all the DIYs I make for you here on YouTube. So when you visit, you'll see the most recent blog posts first, and you can kind of scroll down to see what my recent videos have been. If you click on any of them, it's going to take you to a blog post. On that blog post, you're going to see all of the photos of all of the DIYs I made in that video. So super convenient that you can then pin them on Pinterest so you can remember to go back and make that DIY. And if you want to do from season to season, you want to remember something as well. If you scroll down, you can find a link to the YouTube video and some more information about what I did in that video. I have everything kind of organized by season. I have more now. I just started this spring, so everything from spring and summer, and now we're going to have fall on there. I even have links to my Amazon shop for the crafting items that I use that aren't from Dollar Tree. And then I also have even a link to my Etsy shop on there. So my Etsy shop has all of those fun crafting meme printables that you see me post on social media. They are really popular and really cute, and definitely the crafter's life in meme form. And I run lots of sales over there as well, so you'll have to check that out. So it is craftybeach.net. My new website, and I'm really happy to bring this to you.
Now, this is a thrift flip sign that I got just for a couple of dollars at Goodwill, and we're going to remake it. I love it because it's a wood palette sign, and I'm going to paint it all over with ivory, and we're going to do a fun hand-painted sign. Now, if you guys watch my coffee bar videos, this is that sign. This is the very first time I painted this sign, and I've remade this sign over and over. I love this sign for my coffee bar, but I used to use it in my entryway before I used it in my coffee bar even. So I want to cover up all that white writing, so that's why I went over it with white, and to give myself a white canvas. I want the different boards on this thrifted sign to be different colors, so I'm going to use some painter's tape to tape off the top and the bottom board so I can make the middle board this agave beachy color of blue in chalk paint by Waverly. Whenever you have white writing on a sign like that and you're trying to cover it up, when you do white, it covers it up so well. Peeling off my painter's tape. And I'm actually going to make some stencils for this and make it really fun. I want to make a farm fresh pumpkin sign with this, but I want it to look nice and coastal too. So I'm distressing the ivory parts with some antique wax by Waverly, a chunky brush, and a baby wipe to give it that coastal aged look. I'm also going to distress the blue part as well. Might as well. Whenever you have a palette sign like this too, you kind of want to make sure you don't have any drips that go down between the boards. But if you do, they're easy enough to clean up. I like to kind of use my Cricut weeder to kind of clean that up too. But I just distress that blue board until I'm happy with it. And then measure this out and cut down some stencil vinyl. This is the stencil vinyl that I get on Amazon. It is listed in my shop below. And I cut out like farm fresh pumpkin stencils here. And I did check to see if I had this file saved, and I don't. But basically, I just use like a script font for farm fresh and some like larger blocky letters here for the pumpkins. I just did like some pumpkin patch words. Like you pick would be fun, open daily, like a little arrow. I wanted to look like a fun like farm pumpkin patch sign. And using a stencil that I cut down for each layer. I did have to use my long mat for this one to get it all cut out in one piece. And I was crafting away with this when I should have been like reading the sign, because I wanted this to say farm fresh pumpkins. And as you can see, your girl typed in fresh farm, and I do the whole thing before I notice it. And then I'm like, ugh. So you'll see a crafting fail, but you'll also see me go back and fix it because it was driving me crazy. But the first two boards we're going to paint are the ivory outer boards. And I got my stencil secure. I do like to use painter's tape on the sides of it to try to protect my sign. But the stencil vinyl is great because it does not stick to my freshly painted sign. Now I'm going to use Antique Wax by Waverly to cover my stencil and then drag it in one direction. It's going to give me that same faux wood grain that I think looks so fun. I just kind of daub it on and then go back and kind of drag it for that nice wood grain. But I want to make sure that I don't get any under the stencil. And I'm going to do the same thing here for the bottom too with the U-pick and the open daily. And I think this is going to be a really cute sign once I get my words in the right order. So peeling off my painter's tape and my stencil vinyl, then all you have to do is weed out your extra vinyl when you're making a hand-painted sign like this. And I think that wood technique looks really good for a farm fresh little sign like this, little farm sign. And weeding off the top as well. You would think I would have noticed this at some point, and it's like all the way to the end of this DIY when I actually read my sign. So be careful, read your stencils you're making before you do it. I wanted pumpkins to be big and bold, so I cut it out as big as I could to take up the entire board with this stencil. And we're going to be going on the blue. I'm just trying to line it up straight. And you guys know that I love to do like a white on blue sign. But since this is like fall and pumpkins, I decided to mix it up a little bit. Just making sure that all of my stencil vinyl is good and down. You want to make sure the sides of your letters are good and secure. And so I decided to do orange. So I'm using a stencil dauber from Dollar Tree and some orange chalk paint and going all over my stencils. And I kind of like the contrast with the orange and the blue. It's really fun for fall. But then again, I use blue for every season, including Christmas. Could have used a little bit more painter's tape there, but peeling that all off, and I think that contrast is nice. Just gonna give that a quick dry, and then I thought we could use some Dollar Tree pumpkins to fill out the rest of our little pumpkin sign. There's two different sizes I have here. The little ornament ones are a little bit bigger, and then just popping some more of those off that we used in the back of the truck with the little clothespins on the back, and painting those all orange. Again, I'm gonna paint my little leaves green and my stems brown. For this one, I'm going to kind of draw some lines back on the pumpkin with my brown paint pen, and then a brown stem on that one as well. Kind of soften some of that up with the original orange color too. I wasn't super happy how I drew my lines on there, so I decided to try again, this time with an ink pen first and then painting the orange over the top, and that gave me a much softer line. I like that better. So we're just going to glue the different pumpkins to the different sides here. I kind of left some open space on the sides of my sign for that. I'm going to glue the 3 little pumpkins over on this side and my one larger one over here. And it's wood on wood. I just use a combination of wood glue and hot glue to secure those. And that's when I read my sign. And I was like, are you kidding me? I thought I was done with this project. I could have left it, but I'm kind of a perfectionist sometimes. So I went back over it with ivory, went back to my Cricut, changed the order of my words. And so kind of got to start over. But this time it says Farm Fresh, which is what I meant. But this is me fixing my error. Distressing it again, Antique Wax by Waverly, going back and distressing everything with a little bit of ivory. In the end, it worked out okay, but that was frustrating, that part. Don't do that. I also did decide to distress the pumpkins part with the ivory too, just because I kind of like that vibe. And kind of everything on there. And that's what I kind of wanted it to look like, just an old farm sign. But a really cute one, right? I think this would look great indoors or outdoors. And I really love that wood grain technique with stencils.
And remember to always read your signs before you paint them so you don't have to go back and do the work twice for sure. But I love how it turned out. It's really pretty and fun for fall.
I wanted to make a fun little beachy fall sign, and I'm actually going to use this sign that I got at the Target dollar spot. They have very similar ones at Dollar Tree though, so you could totally do it with those. They have square, they also have rectangle, maybe a little bit bigger than this one. That would totally work. I do like the natural wood for the frame on this, so I'm just going to use some painter's tape and tape that off. You guys know I love a beachy sign that is blue with white writing on it. I think that looks really coastal and fun. So I wanted to kind of give me a nice beachy color. And I was working with chalk paint, so I'm mixing agave with a little bit lighter blue just to lighten it up a little bit. Because sometimes it can dry like more of a medium color. I really wanted this to be a nice soft blue color. And it was super easy to paint that sign. And now I also want a leaf. So I'm using a wood leaf ornament from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just filling the hole in it with some spackle because, again, they are ornaments like that. And I don't want that to be in it on the final project. I go over it with a coat of ivory chalk paint. And then I want it to look distressed. So I go in with some Antique Wax by Waverly and a chunky brush. And I distress pretty heavily along the edges of my leaf. And then I'm also going to go all over, kind of give it a distressed coastal vibe. If you get too much on it or you want to blend it in, a baby wipe is great for that. I don't want it to be too dark though, so I will brighten it back up with a little bit more ivory. I do want to touch up the spackle though, just to make sure that that's not visible in the final product. And then I kind of distress all over with my original color of ivory to brighten that up. Now this is dry, so we can go ahead and remove the painter's tape. I'm actually going to use Dollar Tree white vinyl for this to make a fun beachy fall sign. You guys know that's not my favorite kind of vinyl because it does stick to your mat. So if you use it, be warned. But I think I used like a light grip mat on this and wasn't too bad. But this is the design that I'm going to cut out. It says the leaves are falling and the beach is calling, which I love this. And I normally save these. I just checked my Cricut Design Space and it is not on there, but I did use one font for the whole thing. And the font on Cricut Design Space was Hello. But you know, any kind of cursive font I think would be really good. I just aligned mine where they all align over on the right side of the sign. And then I'm going to use my favorite paper, transfer paper, to add this to the sign. And even though it's freshly painted, that vinyl is going to go great on there with little distress on here. So I kind of designed it with enough space to leave for the leaf. And I'm just scraping that vinyl on. It did pretty good for Dollar Tree vinyl, right? And then here is the little leaf. So I kind of want that to look like it is a falling leaf to go with the words on the sign. And so I just kind of glue it on where it's kind of like falling down to the side. Now, one thing I like to do when I do use vinyl for my lettering on signs, to make them a little bit more permanent, make sure they don't come off, I like to seal them with Mod Podge. I think it does help. Especially since it was Dollar Tree vinyl. I might not have to do that on one that was a little bit better quality, but I'm really obsessed with the matte white vinyl that I've been getting on Amazon lately. I love that. I think it goes great with Coastal Farmhouse because it doesn't have any sheen at all in it too. And the matte Mod Podge also tones that down. And then you know I'm going to distress it with a little bit of ivory for that definite Coastal Farmhouse vibe. I distress in one direction and then I follow that up with a baby wipe. And I probably should have done that before I attached the leaf because then I kind of had to distress around it, but I'm going to make do. And just wiping off the excess with a baby wipe. I do want to make that leaf a little bit more special, so I do plan on layering another Dollar Tree leaf on top of it, but I was just trying to get my level of distress very even. Now I also want it to be like a standing up sign, and so I just have a wood block. It is a Jenga block from Five Below. I love using these, and it can be anything, but I just needed something to glue to the back to make my sign stand up. And then this was the final touch that I was talking about. They have these every year at Dollar Tree. They're the little blue maple leaf, and I think that's going to look perfect. So I just cut down the stem on this one so I can kind of layer that on the Dollar Tree wood leaf there. And it kind of sticks it out and makes the leaf a little bit more 3D, but it totally goes with the blue coastal vibe of the sign. And then I thought maybe a little raffia bow would be a really good final touch on that. And I had that left over from another fall DIY that I had removed. And so it's just a tied raffia bow. And I added that too, just because I thought that looked super beachy. And this is how it turned out. Isn't that expression so cute? The leaves are falling and the beach is calling. And again, that was just the Hello font on Cricut Design Space.
And it might be something fun to sell too if you sell any of your crafts at craft shows or anything like that. I've had so many people try to buy this sign from me, but I'm keeping it.
We're going to do a coastal wood pumpkin sign using one of the wood pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. And I want to make it like a wood bead pumpkin. I want to make a pumpkin wall hanging for my wall. I want it to be like a nice beachy color of blue. So I'm just mixing some blues and greens to try to get the color that I wanted. A little green, a little agave. I was going for that like mint color of blue, and I think I got it. So I'm just using a Dollar Tree roller just because I was going to be doing a lot of projects in this color. I thought I might as well. And I'm just going over the entire wood pumpkin. I love these plain wood signs like this from the Dollar Tree. It makes crafting so much easier because you don't have to prepare anything. You can just start with paint. So we got a nice blue, like mint green coverage on the whole thing. And then again, I'm using some of the stringed wood beads from Dollar Tree. And you could totally do this yourself with the bagged wood beads, but you'd probably have to string them first into a little garland like this. I am going to take enough that's just going to cover like the center part of the pumpkin. And I'm going to try to, I want to leave it strung, but I want to cut it just down to size. That way I can tie that together into a little oval shape that's going to go on the middle part of our pumpkin. Just like that. And I just want, you could also do this with like half wood beads if you had them, but this is a Dollar Tree option. I'm going to attach it to the top and the bottom. I don't want to go fully down. As you can see, I'm just kind of outlining that little center section of the pumpkin with the wood beads, and I'm just leaving them like natural wood like that. I like that contrast against that beautiful blue color that we mixed. I do like kind of glue down one on each like quadrant just to help it keep its shape and make it, you know, stay flat against the sign when it's hanging on the wall. Now it's time to frame up the left side of the pumpkin. I decided just to use the loop on there to loop it around the pumpkin stem because why not? It was already there. And then we can line that all the way along the left side of the pumpkin. Gonna cut that one down to size as well, using a little twine on the end to make sure that this doesn't fall apart on me before I get it attached, just by tying a knot there at the end. Gonna tack that down with a little hot glue on the top, the left side, and the bottom. And I want that to sit flat, so I kind of tack the corners as well and get it good and connected. This DIY was so easy to make, and it turned out so cute, kind of a classy feel. I did use an extra wood bead because it kind of felt like I had a gap there on that side. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other one. I had to start a new strand of wood beads. This one's not too long. And again, I cut it down to size, tied off the end so it's not going to go anywhere, and hot glue that wood bead garland down as well. And one more for the little space in between the little sections, just so there's not like an abnormal gap there. Isn't it looking cute already? You can kind of see that wood grain through the paint, which looks really cute. And then I'm going to take some of the Dollar Tree jute twine, tie it to the base of the stem, and just wrap all the way around the stem. You do have to use a little hot glue when you get to the end to keep this in place, but just kind of wrap it until you're happy with the thickness and the look of it. Now, I actually picked these little pre-made bows up on clearance, I think at Walmart, and they were just the perfect color, but you could use whatever you have. I just hot glued mine to the top of, or the base of my pumpkin stem, the top of my pumpkin here. And I already had a little pre-made bow. The colors are perfect. And then I thought I would finish it off with a seashell for a perfect touch. I just need to find the perfect seashell. And I liked this one. I'm going to glue it right here to the top of the pumpkin as well. Now I'm going to make this a hanging pumpkin sign. So again, I'm going to use some more of that twine from the Dollar Tree and just make a simple hanger for the back. You could attach this to the pumpkin stem if you wanted. I'm just going to hot glue mine to the back because it's not a very heavy sign. I think it's going to hold just fine with a little bit of hot glue. And this is how it turned out. Our little like mint green, our beachy blue pumpkin with wood beads. Everything is from the Dollar Tree except for that cute little bow.
So remember, you don't really have to have like the half wood beads to make a sign like this. You can just use the regular beads from the Dollar Tree as well. And I love it to kind of map out the sections there of the pumpkin. Okay, you've made it to the final reveal. Thank you so much for joining me today and making it all the way to the end of today's video. Watching the whole video really helps my videos do better here on YouTube. Be sure to comment your favorite DIY in the comments below. I can't wait to hear from you, and enjoy the final reveal.
Open up the window. I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Since I was a little child, every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. I wonder where they're going, the flight of swallows sailing through the sky. There's no way of knowing, but maybe someplace far from you and I. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days Open up the window. I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Since I was a little child, every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. And I also want to give a huge shout out to all my Crafty Beach Bum members for supporting my channel here on YouTube. Thanks so much to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Nancy Wunner, Janae Farrington, Julie Miller, Pamelia Wren, Maria Grace, Donna Schreiner, Sandy C., Live Another Day, Tracy Wooldridge, Maren Christensen, Debbie Middleton, Vicki Connors, Adrian Brolt, Deborah Caldwell, and Red Mama. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video. You're going to get early ad-free access to my videos here on YouTube, and it is only $4.99 a month, and you're free to cancel at any time. Would you like more crafting DIYs? Be sure to check out this video right here, and until next time, happy crafting!